Hey guys, it's Ben here from Second Dynasty. It is Friday, it is 3 p.m., which means it's time for yet another update. Or rather, live stream, I guess, of the kind of work we've been up to. We'll hopefully do a little bit of modeling this session. I don't think we got very much done last session. It's been a busy week. It feels like it's been a short week for some reason. And yeah, we're still. Thank you, Tamsin, for that. We're still hard at work on the Aesir fleet campaign. We've added some additional value. We've had a steady stream of pledges. So far, I'm pretty impressed with Back-A-Kit. I think it operates quite similarly to Kickstarter in that sense, at least more so than a Frontier. And yeah, let's before we get started, let's say g'day to the chat. Who we got? Give a shout out if you're in the chat and want me to say hello. Or I can see we got Doug, Jaren is here, Solo Spirit, Tamsin, Grana Pregio, Shergel is here, and then of course Carbonhead is announcing himself, who is actually Albin here in the office. And Albin has also been hard at work. So there is a lot to do and a lot to go over. I thought before we get into the Aesir fleet, I would just like to go over a quick update. We'll get back to the campaign in a second, but I just put out a 5th Frontier War campaign update. And we just released these 2 miniatures the other day with 2 poses each. And of course, a little bit of an update on what is being modeled at the moment behind the scenes. So currently being worked on is the Zidani Warbot and Embla and Boo, which is exciting. After this, I believe there are 3 models left. One of them is the shipboard working dress, this little guy, because he won the community mini. He was the most popular mini when we did our final 3. So with 39.4% of the vote, the shipboard working dress from Deep Night Revelation has won the day. So we'll be getting this guy modeled up in the next few weeks. And aside from that, I think we just have one conversion of the small Zidani Warbot, the large Zidani Warbot to do. And yeah, then it will be this guy. So exciting stuff. Almost done. It has gone on a bit later than I would have liked. We were hoping to get finished by the end of last year, January at the earliest. We're now in the beginning of March, but I can safely say that by the end of this month we should have everything done. Now this will affect delivery a little bit. The next update will focus on that. And I just wanted to highlight again Kathy Millet's awesome sewer district campaign on Kickstarter. Check it out if you haven't. I could maybe copy the link here into the chat. Check it out if you haven't. It's actually very reasonably priced for what it is, and I think it came out looking pretty awesome. I did have some interesting news today, which I can't share with you guys, but exciting times ahead, possibly. And yeah, let's get back to the job at hand, which is actually not the 5th Frontier War, but the Aesir fleet. Some people have been asking when we might be doing next a Traveller campaign. I can say at the moment that's a little bit up in the air. One, I don't really want to do a Traveller campaign when we haven't finished the physical deliveries yet. I think it's kind of in poor taste to start a new campaign when you're not finished deliveries, even though obviously there is a difference between STL deliveries and physical miniatures. So the other thing too is this is the last year on our current contract for licensing, which means we probably would need to secure a license extension. I haven't talked to Mongoose about that yet. I don't think it necessarily will be too much of an issue. But we need to figure that out before we can focus on more Traveller and what it might actually be. So having said that, in the last week we've done quite well with the Aesir fleet. We're up to 368,000 euros, which is I guess about $35,000. Sorry, not euros, Swedish crowns. Force of habit. 231 backers, and we've released a bunch of stretch goals, and we now actually have a stretch goal section, which this is the one thing that this page doesn't work. You need to click on it a few times until it scrolls down. But yeah, we have so far unlocked the sensor greebles, the bonus RCS variants, which I'm going to show off in just a second, and the Valkyria weapon mounts. And it's kind of hard to see with these 3-in-1 images, but I have a little design there which shows which ships these are primarily compatible with. The Valkyria one, actually, I think you could technically install it in any of the ships because they use the same nose pieces. And also these connections that Albin did, one of the styles actually slots into a regular OpenLog slot. So it should be possible to connect them. Or maybe they're grid forged. I'm not sure on the connection. I haven't seen the physical prints up close myself. Albin is in the middle of reprinting Valkyria with the interior, which is now feature complete. Right? Now we're moving on to stretch goal territories. Upcoming at 250 backers, so we're only 19 backers away from that. I think we should get that comfortably. Is some PDC variants, at least 3. Technically, it will be compatible with Sleipnir and Valkyria as well. It's just it requires, the PDC mountings on top of that. Whereas the other ships are warships and actually have them by default. And that 400k, which also is only 40,000 crowns away, about $4,000, is the Ratatosk mission module, which adds a whole new section that can attach to the ship, could use it for cargo, possibly we'll do other variants in the future. And yeah, we just have a couple of larger pictures of these that you can peruse over. We're probably missing 1 or 2 at this point in time. But yeah, so it has picked up, and despite a slow weekend, which to be fair, even on Kickstarter it's a slow weekend, it looks like we need to prepare some other stretch goals. I think the guys over at Backer Kit, they do have some they do things in a nice way. Like Kickstarter now partners with Jalop, however, ask you to provide a credit card and to pay for all of the meta ads up front for their marketing. Whereas on BackerKit, they cover it all ahead of time, so you can actually pay out of the chunk of cash you get in for a successful campaign, rather than having to worry about, seeing that there's enough money ahead of time. So for a small company like ours, that's a really great thing. It means that we don't have to worry about liquidity as much. And yeah, I would say that is definitely one in the plus column for BackerKit. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that. And since last week too, Albin added these renders of the interior of the Valkyria. I thought we would load it up again in a little bit. But I made a secret stretch goal for 222 backers. People that have been following us for a while know that the number 2 is significant. I wonder why. Second Dynasty. But also $22.22 or 222, like all of this is sort of like numbers that are sacred to a particular cult that may or may not exist within the company. Your worry is that the campaign is not successful and you can't afford the advertising. You mean for yourself or for us? Because they do scale it on BackerKit as well. However, they did warn that they're not as familiar with STL campaigns, and I would say the sort of for the ads are difficult to explain because there is the literal like return of investment. So our ads aren't doing fantastic. It's like 1.5. So for every $10 we put in, we make 15. Not great. It's still a profit technically. It's not making up the majority of our pledges either. But what it does do is put your product out there. And it's really hard to say if maybe that gets the attention of people that are going to back later, for example, that sort of thing. I think it's worth a lot more than people think. And if I had the resources, the number one thing I would invest in is marketing. For you, yes. I understand. And on Kickstarter in particular, very difficult. And yeah, to be perfectly honest, it's one of those frustrations that I find still frustrating myself. Obviously, we're operating we've been in existence longer, and we have a larger team and a lot more overhead to clear. But at the same time, it's one of those things where you've got to spend money to make money, but you want to be able to spend that money somewhere where you know it's going to do good. And a part of that is just brand awareness. And that might get lifted for us soon, but that's something that I probably won't be able to discuss for a while. Nothing is written down yet, but we got some exciting news today. I'll leave it at that. I'm normally a blabbermouth, but I can't be in this case. In any case, that's the campaign section. Let's go and look at the 222 backer thing. I like the fact that the achievements on BackerKit you don't just set for funding. It's really quite nebulous the way it works anyway. But setting stretch goals for the number of backers I found is actually quite good, because sometimes the figures are hard to hit. It's hard to know if someone's going to, for example, back a Valkyria that's only 250 crowns, so $25, or if they're going to go all in where it's more like $140. And then add to that the fact that the US dollar against the Swedish crown keeps changing day by day for some mysterious reason that I can't quite figure out. But we won't get into all of that. So these RCS stands for Reaction Control System, in case you are not familiar. If you imagine a real spacecraft, when you see them maneuvering and you see those little jets like to sort of reorient the ship, that is the reaction control system. So basically maneuvering thrusters, if you want to put it in a more common vernacular. These ones in particular are actually inspired by the RCS engines, I would say, on the armored carriers from Macross. Sort of squarish, you can see in where the thrusters are. And we also added... See, one of the things I kind of felt was that we might have got in a bit too heavy-handed. We can't change prices, but we can add content. So the all-in pledge now includes not only STL files of all of the ships in 1 to 270 and tactical miniatures, they also are going to, the all-in pledge includes a pack of 24 unique RCS variations, and here they are over here. So the base ones that we've had before, the old classic, this came from Sleipnir originally. I think there's even an older version, which didn't have any handholds. And then we made this variant for, I think it's starting with Ratatosk or Nidhogg, because it has a shorter side. And this is the Erebus style bonus RCS pack. Technically, they all use an open lock connection. Yeah, it looks like we've got some discoloration there. No need to worry though. And the more recent ones also include some supporting clips as connections. Crowns, dollars, what's the difference? It's about 1 to 10 roughly, but it varies between, I've seen it up to 11 recently, and I've seen it down closer to 10 in the last couple of days. So it's only going to be a few dollars of difference, but obviously when you're putting in 1,500 crowns, it sounds like a lot. It is a lot, really, but you're also getting a ton of content, including these. So here we have a bunch of different variants. They all plug in the same way. Some are a little bit more structural than others. We've got these huge, big thrusters. We've got smaller variations. And yeah, a third style here. So there's like 3 different thruster styles on these ones, and then variants of. I think we've got. Let's see. Well, they're 24 in total. I know that much. Let's see. Yeah, 24 objects there. So there's a couple of design variants. Some work with all of the thruster types. Some don't. These ones are more inspired by like Apollo style RCS thrusters. Then these are our more traditional ones in here. So these are more like variants of our existing ones. Again, the standard version has these double thrusters, so these would not give as much thrust all at once, I guess. So yeah, you've got some options there to create some variety with your ships. Let's see. So what are people saying in the chat? Let me check in with the chat. Right, let's see. Aside from the hellos, we have sight and sound. Doug says, licensed stuff that Ben can't discuss. Now I want to know what might be coming, and probably ages until Ben can talk about it. What I can say is it's not related to Traveller. And it's not Alien. So, there. We'll leave it there. It's not Star Wars either. Let's see. Kathy says, thanks for the shout out. You're most welcome. And again, it's in the most recent update of the Aesir fleet. I'm sorry I didn't catch you in time to get the graphic. I actually just ripped it off Kickstarter. So I did some finagling. I got the most recent front page image for that. So Blaster says, hey, a bit late. All right, you're most welcome, mate. Glad the Aesir fleet is going well. Me too. It's quite a relief. Kathy says, my worry is that the campaign is not successful. Oh, right, we talked about that, sorry, with the advertising.
There was a new question, though.
There was?
Mm-hmm. Are these single part, or do the bells print separately?
They are all print in place single parts. So they're all just angled in such a way that modern printers should make them fine. And if you're worried about that, why don't we switch to the close-up camera and I can show you what the results are. Because I have a few examples printed here. So you've got, sorry, I haven't gone over it with the old flame of string reduction. Wow, it's really not focusing. Come on, at least get my nails or knuckles or something. I swear it's Benjaminin in the background. Come on, camera. Wow. Sorry guys, really fuzzy. See, maybe I can. There's my hand in focus. So you can see the thrusters there. And my printer's just managed no worries with the bottoms of those thrusters as they are. A few more variants. Let's see. Sorry for the callus on my hand. Another type. Yet another one. These were the first 4 that I did. Look how well the symbols came out too. And then where's the last one? It was here somewhere. Oh, here. So, there we go. So these are all the larger style aside from the last one I showed before this. Very happy with how they're coming out. Really nice and crisp. Plenty of connections, so you can orient it how you like. There's a sneak preview in the background there of Hannes.
Coming up in the next tribes.
Oh, he's trying to sneak in.
Oh yeah, I heard my name.
Yeah, you're
Don't
all...
mind me. I'm just a ghost roaming the halls.
Yes, that's right. Aimlessly. I mean, I'm the rude one not closing my door whilst I'm streaming, but, you know. We don't close the doors often. No one complains for some reason, so. This is our Nernies scene. There is a whole heap of models in here. It's mostly unsorted. Nernies and Greebles, these are the ones in the packs for the stretch goals already added. I'm probably not even finished with that. In fact, I've added a couple of extra ones here just with a couple of lenses and things. not really complicated, but I just want more options. And this is also how the this array here is a 3-part piece. One part here. I must have accidentally combined that. One part for the dish, which prints flat on this side, and then one part for the truss. And it worked so well, it just was so inspiring. Alright, let me get back to the chat so I can see it. You've not actually backed yet. I have so much stuff I haven't printed yet. I'm still my mic's back, I'm guessing, before it ends. Well, one way or another, I appreciate your support, past, present, or future. So, thank you anyway for giving it some consideration. Yeah. Yeah, okay, you corrected that. Nice. Quick, everyone, list every single sci-fi IP and gauge his reaction. You know, that would probably work. It's not Spaceballs or Galaxy Quest. Hang on a minute. Yeah. No, those. It's not a film or TV media thing. Let's put it that way. So, but it would be something you've heard of, for sure. Anyway, I'm going to move on before you catch me. And like I said, it's just a first point of contact thing, so nothing to talk about yet, but it was exciting. Yeah, so these are the Nernies. Let me see. Albin, did you get that scene ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I'm going to open up the Valkyria, and we'll also hopefully take a little look. Wait, that's the regular version. Let's change projects. We need to go to Starship 5, and we want to go in and look at the stream preview of the Valkyrie. Well, he writes Valkyrie, but it's Valkyria.
Okay.
So, although now it has a new context because I forced my staff to watch Macross Do You Remember Love the other day, which was an experience. I mean, really good, but definitely a little bit dated, especially in regards to the treatment of women. Yeah, that was a bit awkward. So here we have the Valkyria, which is the smallest of the ships. Again, quite accessible for a 5-story ship. We're only selling it for $24. It's definitely not going to be that cheap later. The larger ships probably are going to be closer in price to where they'll end up on my mini factory. But we just wanted to make an entry point for people that haven't printed our ships before. This is a really easy one to do. This stacking effect of the Aesir fleet style ships, the Expanse design language, where it's basically a tower in space with a rocket motor attached to it. You know, you can accelerate at 1 gravity to simulate artificial gravity, or anywhere less to get some artificial gravity going through constant thrust. It's not much better, is it? And a fusion torch. So let's review and have a look. So let's take off. Oh wait, the left side thing is maybe not it. That's the whole thing. Okay, so this is a stretch goal that Albin is working on, which is some cargo, and you can actually see the straps on these ones look like they hook in to the actual floor panels. There's a little gantry, I think it's called, and that can be sort of rolled around. And we also have a gas transportation cargo, and they're all done with the grid forge system. So this is going to be an upcoming stretch goal. We want to create a bunch more variants before we start putting it out there. But these are going to be really cool, I think.
I hope so. I sent a picture on Discord for what the cage thing is supposed to be. I imagine that you would put loose cargo in it or something.
Yeah, okay, so let's share this picture. Wait, why isn't it letting me open link? There we go. Now we can put this in another window. So this is what he's talking about, having like a cargo cabinet where you could store stuff. So lots of work in progress this week. Oh, and we've got our aerospike from the other week hiding in there. So, alrighty, I wanted to let's get this off, and we'll look at the rest of the ship. So if I hide that, it should disappear. We should be able to turn the ship back on, and let's review the decks. So last week we did show off the top couple of decks. So let's turn off deck 1, deck 2. They're pretty much the same as they were last time, although now are being test printed, I believe. We have made some refinements, or rather Albin has. I think there's some refinements to this lower deck, right? The cargo deck.
Yep.
Mostly in the form of the walls. You can see we've added these clip holes here, which will support some additional ideas we've had for cargo. Just make it feel a little bit more alive. Of course, these squares you'll be able to swap out for that cargo. So that's the whole point of Grid Forge, is the fact that you can swap stuff out on the fly. And it also makes things easier to paint, to be honest. Wouldn't you agree that's the experience, Albin?
Yeah, I really like the Grid Forge system.
He really likes it.
Yes, it makes it versatile.
It does indeed. It does indeed. Let me see. Let's get the chat on. Nice scatter pieces. Thanks, Tamsin. There's cream for that, Ben. The thrush. The thrusters. The thrusters. Yeah. Just thinking about things that might have an RPG and are sci-fi. It's sci-fi, I can tell you that. Mostly sci-fi. Anyway, with the risk of giving that away, let's move on. I like the pipes behind the walls here. That really adds a little bit of depth, so that would go up to the RCS. And then we have the engineering section, which is really busy and really cool. So you have a bunch of pumps for the RCS. I really like that addition. And in fact, it kind of makes the other ships feel a little bit naked without it. So I don't know, maybe we'll do some variations in the future which include that sort of thing. Even like these small details of cables and things. Really brings it to life. There's no bottom plate at the moment because there's going to be a hatch, and the ladder sort of like is this multi-deck thing. And I think this solution here too for the platform is a bit low, but a figure could stand there okay. And the ladder cleverly fits in between on this level because you can see it split there. Sorry?
I might have accidentally hidden it.
Oh, it does exist?
Yeah.
Okay, alright. Yeah. Anyway, mistakes happen. But I really love the way this is coming across, so let's see. No Man's Sky has a wide variety of ships and planetary habitats, but I don't want Ben to risk the new relationship by revealing stuff too early. It's not No Man's Sky. It's not Judge Dredd either. I gotta shut up. You're gonna process of elimination this. Anyway, it is.
What it is.
It's not Helldivers. It's not a computer game. No, it's not a computer game. Anyway, let's move on. We really can't talk about this anymore. Honestly, I don't want to say anything more. I need to shut up about it. Because you guys, if you keep going, I think you'll get there. I might leave this scene open because maybe we want to pinch some details here. But I thought today what we would work on is the Nidhogg's engineering area. And if we review, let me just turn off a few layers of, let's see, hopefully deck 6 disappears there, and that should give us a little bit of viewing space. Hey, we got this guy. Let's stick him, let's just hide him for now. So if we look down into our engineering bay on, this is the Fenrir version, but Sleipnir is essentially the same. The main difference is that this ladder well continues on down to the base of the ship on the Sleipnir. It actually has a passage where you can get the lift right the way down to the bottom of the ship. Whereas here you would access the engineering section using this functional, I seem to have moved the pivot point on this thing. So I'll just fake this a little bit. It will look a bit wonky, but it flips up like so, and you get access below. We might add a ladder of some kind.
Did you just do a rhyme?
Not intentionally.
Okay.
So this is a bit more of like a series of rooms, but technically on the Fenrir and the Sleipnir, it is quite a lot wider at this point. The Nidhogg narrows considerably. So rather than having a workshop around the outside of like a power plant room, which I still love this design because it's kind of Star Trek 2-ish in the sense of someone can be in there and you've got your window viewing in and yeah.
So you can perish.
You can, you know. But let's talk about this in Discord. You never know though if these people have, contacts on our Discord. Maybe not, but you never know. It's all very early days. Anyway, so what I've done with this ship is, if I look up at deck 11, I've got a workshop in progress. So it has its own level. Not the final layout so far, but the general gist of it, yes. There might be a little bit more furniture that we get put into this area, a little bit of storage, no doubt. But I'm trying to keep that mostly to Grid Forge just so that we actually maintain that modularity and you can customize this deck. You don't have to make it a workshop, right? It's good if a few are done. Deck 10 as well is not... I thought we did fill that out. It's going to be an extra barracks. Could have sworn I made that. It might be that the parts to it belong to a higher up deck. Let me just... yeah, some of them do, as you can see there. Galley, airlock, deck 7. Alright, maybe I'm confusing them. Let's start at the top again. So take the top off. We now have this living area. So I guess this is more like a crew commons sort of area for sleeping. It is above the officers' quarters, so you got your captain's quarters there. You have your other officers sharing this area. Below that we have the bridge, which is confounding me so much. Like, I really wanted to make this like the Pella. I think it needs to be wider if that's the case. But I'm not quite done with this design. I feel like it's quite busy and we need to get it making more sense. I still want it to be open, but we're kind of stuck with this ladder well because it comes up in between. Yeah, like this is just a leftover. It's not supposed to be there. That's where it used to come up. Now it comes up here, and that's also necessary for reaching the deck above. Although technically it could be moved, but you know, I prefer it where it is for the time being. The design is fluid. Beneath that we have, let me keep going down. We've got our galley level. Just a little bit larger than the Sleipnirs, not by a whole bunch. And these I want to do, we did in the original Kickstarter for Starship 5, like a modular version of the kitchen with open lock. I'd like to do a Grid Forge version of that and also add to it. Like, the one thing that I don't think we've really added properly is like a fridge. We don't have something that's distinctly an oven. I mean, we've got microwaves.
Everything's driving.
You know, so there are some options. I mean, we have this fridge wall. Maybe I would turn it into an actual unit, for example. A freezer. There's a lot of different things we could do to customize it, and then you could also use it elsewhere. And maybe we could do a sort of Sleipnir variant floor, and then a version of it where it's got a more generic floor, so it kind of can fit into any areas. And I think maybe the way to do that is to sort of have a fairly flat surface and maybe just a little bit of like patterns on the floor to indicate, oh, this is the eating area, keep clear or something. I don't know. Maybe not warning stripes per se, but you get the idea. Something to sort of make it a bit more original. An air fryer. I mean, just turn this into drawers, right? And you've got your air fryer. Anyway, that's the galley level. Then we have our airlock level. Note it doesn't have the suits. That's because I have ordered some revisions of our original Sleipnir suits. So that we'll be getting a new miniature. At the moment, there'll probably be a few... I think the way to do it would be to have some like hanging suits and things that are stretch goals. Maybe we'll make it an add-on that's included with the all-in. Again, I just want to increase the value so that on the final couple of days, people are like, okay, this is worth it. And they actually get to see what they've got. Because we really weren't ready to go when we launched the campaign. We didn't leave that huge, big impression I was hoping to. So yeah, it looks... this is a revision of the original spacesuits we had for... the Sleipnir campaign. They didn't quite come out like my sketches, and a part of the reason for that is I seem to have this no neck issue. I've modified this heavily in Photoshop to get something of a neck back where it looks in proportion, and the suit does have the effect of making it look shorter. I haven't done anything with the back of the head here though, and you can kind of see it feels a bit short. So it did launch 45 minutes too early. 45 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I don't know anymore exactly what it was. I could blame the chat. I'm not going to. Just a new platform. Being also very, very tired. And I have to confess, I took a half day yesterday to sort of make up for things. And I might have had a couple of, later mornings of late. So yeah, that suit is in production by Eximus, who has done a lot of the work on the Fifth Frontier War campaign, and works with Kyoshiniku, and so Papsicles, at the moment that's the only order I've done. I wanted to do a few new crew members, but I think we've just left it too late, and now seeing the campaign and where it is, it's like... I'm not unhappy with the campaign, but I'd rather keep things to stretch goals that we know exactly how much time it's going to take for the time being, and maybe we can do more in the future. So moving down to deck 7, we have some more living quarters. I just don't have all the flooring in there, but we have some bunk situations, so this would house 8 people as is. The way that we've set up the floors here, it does make it a little bit harder to have some full customizations. I might look into this actually, because we could probably squeeze a proper tile out of that there on that side at least. So I'm gonna have a look at the patterns, see what we can do. Most of the time it's a 2 square situation here. You can kind of see from where these floors normally plug in. For some levels though, because of the way the ship's built, we have this middle tile, and so we have a few variations depending on the deck. Anyway, I just wanted to show what was going on there, and then we sort of get down into, like, there's a cargo deck above as well, and I'm thinking maybe this deck above that, wait, where did it go? There. So we've got living. And then we've got this one empty deck above, which I think might be more cargo space with a ship of this size. It kind of makes sense. Or we might just do like a fuel room or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. You should be able to customize it a little bit with GridForge. I think it says it will start in about half an hour. Oh, this stream? Look, they keep asking me to put the times in Pacific times, which is the issue. I did my best to look at what time it was, and then type in, it said it was 3 a.m. When I looked at it this morning. Maybe that was off. I don't know. But they'll be able to see this on the website when it starts. What? It's trying to link to Twitch rather than YouTube. That is odd. I need to have a quick look at that maybe. So let's see. Oh yeah, it says Twitch. Let me just go in and edit this. YouTube. There we go. Save. You can refresh that and hopefully it'll... Now it says it's live. Of course it does. Of course it does. Anyway, see if that worked for you guys. Sorry about that. Of course, I stuffed it up again. So there you go. Campaign page is trying to link to Twitch. That's fixed now. Hopefully, if I can get a confirmation from someone, that would be great. Fixed it. Thank you, Tamsin. Suits look good. I mean, I think they will look really good when they're done, and I'm kind of hoping we can do some in-house variation. I'd really like to be in a situation where we can just rig it to fit some of the older characters as well, so maybe we could do some variations of that where they have a suited up version. Probably a pretty innocuous, just in a spacesuit thing. It's not combat. Anyway, let's get back down to our engineering deck so that we can actually do something in the remaining 20 minutes. And what I was thinking of is, since this is a dedicated engineering deck, maybe we don't need the storage here. We might want some more control panels. And actually, if we go back to, let's see. We do have these. Yeah, I think we're just going to export some of these. So let's select the rest. No, it's all in a group. All right. Let's take this out of a group real quick. Like so. And then everything else we delete. We delete all our groups as well. So layers, delete unused layers. It should get rid of everything. And we just go File, Optimize Scene Size. And this should get rid of everything that's not currently in use. And then we can just simply save this scene as temp engineering. Save as, there we go. And that way we could import these files without it being too disruptive to our scene. It should keep all of the shaders the same with the right import settings, and it shouldn't add the pasted. We seem to have figured out how to solve that one, as long as there's not an actual copy. An import will avoid that. So let's go back to where we were in resources. And we will go and open again the Nernies and Greebles. I think, or no, ship equipment. That's the John version. This version here. Okay, let's open this. Yes, we can save that. Looking forward to using OpenLog tiles for this campaign to kit out some of the maintenance/engineering extended shuttle Alpha Mark IV. Yeah, GridForge is what you meant. I get it. And yes, of course, that's the beauty of GridForge. You can swap them out and use them for that. I think there'll be some cool cargo pieces you can use. Obviously, some of these are larger pieces. And by the way, guys, if you are on the tribe this month, we're not done yet. We will add some more GridForge content. We're just sort of like debating exactly what we should have. I think maybe we tie it in to the campaign. It would be nice to shine a spotlight on the Aesir fleet, and one way to do that is if we select some particular machinery or cargo, for example, specific to the Aesir fleet, and share it with the tribe as sort of bonus items to sort of promote it. So one of the reasons I wanted to open this up is because we have a number of different engineering models. They're quite unsorted at the moment. A little bit more sorted than the Greebles and Nernies file there. These sort of older pieces of machinery, I don't think they quite suit the aesthetic of the Aesir fleet. But we do have some control panels and things like this, and it would be interesting to maybe create some variations of these. but I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sold on this, like what we could use yet, and it might honestly just be beyond what we can fit into this time frame. This is more or less just what I'm working on now. So let's see. We have some HVAC here, and some of this could be of interest. We have some random controls here, which I do think pretty much build up our sort of engineering panels and that sort of thing. I would really like a station for an engineer to sort of sit at, and that's one of the things I'm probably going to get out before the end of the campaign. I think we have 14 days left, and yeah, Friday next week. Oh, sorry, Friday week. So not on Friday next week, it's the one after. Trevor asks, can you go over the tribes change again? I got the promo month friends of, but I already had all of the files. The best person to ask about that is John, but essentially what we have done, I can pull it up, or can I? I think we need to. I think I've got it over here somewhere. So let's see. That is at least on my mini factory. Oh, it's Blasted's page. This all depends on whether or not my mini factory is actually going to load. So I guess you guys can check out Blasted's tribe as well. So check that out, but we're just waiting for this to... Okay. It looks like I'm not logged in for some reason. My mini factory, I don't know what's going on with it half the time. It's not always the most optimal interface to use, but it is probably the best distribution we could ask for as far as having all of your STL files in one place. Come on, my account's not turning up. And it's just saying it's finished. So maybe I can go in the other way by going to, let's see, tribes. And it should load the front page, and then I should be able to go into Sci-fi. And we should be able to look. So reach it from that way. Oh, now it's saying I'm logged in, of course. Let's see. It's like the times where my mini factory doesn't work is anytime you're actually trying to show it off. Blasted's car and truck are nice. Yeah, they are. So hopefully this will load in a second. Maybe, there we go. Okay. So we have 3 new tribes levels, which replace the old ones. We have Grid Forge, which is going to add some Grid Forge tiles, more than just these 2. And actually, you can see, oh, well, the chairs were from last month, I think. So I don't know what's going on there. I'll have to ask John. Then we have this vehicle, which is actually designed by John. Okay, I can see this is showing past month's versions. Or maybe it's added now so that if you... I know there's been a big push to promote the tribe. So the vehicles pledge is still the same as it was. It doesn't include the Grid Forge per se. And the back catalogue version has been baked into Friends of Benjamin, which includes both these 2 tiers. Vehicles might eventually go up by $1 or something like that. It all depends. It's kind of tied to how this, currency ends up. Because if the US dollar stays strong, we're earning more money from this, but ultimately it's being converted to Swedish crowns. We also have our own issues. Of course, if you subscribe for a full year, you basically get 2 months for free. So that'll bring down that cost to like $120, which it's fair enough. It's a lot, but it all depends what you want to do, how you want to do it. It's just an extra option. Yeah, so we needed to phase out the back catalogue essentially because we were getting to the point where it's a loop. We can't include Traveller products in it because that gets complicated with royalties. We could get a bit dodgy with that and just say, oh, we're giving it away as a part of this, but it doesn't feel right to me. So, yeah, essentially it's the new version of that back catalogue is included with that. It's still going to include at least $20 plus worth of items in addition to the vehicle and Grid Forge items. And we plan to do a little bit more focus on this when John is coming over We're going to actually try and get the next 6 months of Tribes releases sort of into gear and ready to go, so we've got a little bit more breathing room. My intention was after Sleipnir to work on Persephone. We will see how that goes. So anyway, we are down to 10 minutes. So hopefully that clarification was worthwhile. And for anyone that doesn't know, the tribe is essentially, it works the same kind of way as Patreon, only it's distributed and paid through My Mini Factory. So yeah, get a new vehicle a month for the price of a coffee, which I would have said it an expensive coffee once upon a time, but I don't think it's not true anymore, unfortunately. So we have a ladder well terminating here. Not really the most handicap accessible of ships, but you know, you can always get on the float to get about, so it's more like combat situations where you might need to be able-bodied. The power plants too, I am planning on doing a very rough idea here somewhere where to go. This is kind of like my idea for how it could look. Sort of this soccer ball shape with sort of laser arrays pointed into a sort of fusion chamber, if you will. But let's not confuse you guys with even more nonsense. You're welcome, Trevor, for the clarification. So, and if you stay on your existing tiers, they're not going to disappear in the next... I think they get phased out over 3 months or something like that. It's just that they're hidden for the time being. Yeah, we had a really successful month last month with a bunch of new people trying it out. So as you saw, it was currently like 580 odd tribers, which is absolutely awesome. And obviously the more people that subscribe to the tribe, the more content we can create for it. It gives us more of a budget to play with. Alrighty, and that's what helps us keep the lights on more than anything, because it's a steady income every month. So, we were talking about control panels. Now, I could take apart some of these and create some variations. I kind of do want to do some new controls here. But actually, I've been playing a lot of Astronauts lately, which I think is a really chill game that's worth looking into. It's a 2.5D game. It's more complex than you'd think it is, but also once you get the hang of it, really a chill time, and it's just ship breaking. You go out and you break down components, restore them. It's an absolutely awesome game, I feel. So I was just thinking, okay, how do these reactors work? We know, for example, from the Expanse, they have like a pellet that gets pushed through lasers, create a fusion reaction, and then the exhaust is pushed out the back of the ship. So we do have these sort of pipes from the original style here. Here I was thinking it's more like a coolant thing. But I was thinking for this design, we might eventually change this. But maybe some of these squares could have like a pellet injector or something like that. And I'm just thinking something that's a little bit boxy. Yeah, I don't know. Not too... Something that looks busy and complicated, but also is something unique that we haven't seen. So I think I'm just going to start with a simple box. I'm going to go create polygon primitives cube. Might run a little bit over today because we're only just getting started on this one, and it seems like we have also messed up with the stream, so it might give some people a chance to actually join us live. Hard Space Shipbreaker is in the exact same vein, but less technical. So which do you prefer, Jaron? Out of interest. You have to feed quarters to continue the burn. Yeah, basically. A gumball machine. I mean, that would be a chuckle. That would be a chuckle. Like, it'd be nice to do more jokes if it didn't take so long to model. Let's start just getting this up to, let's see, 2.54. that's still too small. Let's just go for want a cube that is roughly, let's see, 25. Wait, whoops. Oh, this has made all kinds of crazy here. Let's see. 12.7 is half an inch. Okay, so we've got a half-inch cube here, and if this is aligned correctly, might just grab. Let's see, where do we have floor panels? We can actually probably port them over from here. If I can find the single, I think that's a single. So we'll have to move this to the correct later. Usually cleanup happens way too late. But we just want a base. So let's move this down here. And let's see. I have a vague idea in my head of what like astronauts fusion machinery looks like. I don't want it to be exactly the same, so the idea is to create something that feels like it might fit, but that isn't too dead on. So if I'm working from my imagination, I've only got a vague idea of what it looks like. Obviously it's 2D sprite too, so I have a lot of leeway in creating what that might eventually look like. I think the trick here is going to be to make the shapes look interesting. So I'm going to do this in 2 sections, and I'm actually going to cut out, oops, we're going to cut this section out. Actually, you know what, we don't need to cut it out. We're going to drag this vertex here and down there. Oops. Let's see, let's get that to snap to there. And we're just going to like add in, actually we can triangulate this and then quadrangulate, I think should do the trick. Triangulate, quadrangulate, and we get it sort of like as this bite out. And the reason I want to do it this way is because I'm going to use some basic modeling tools built into Maya, namely the bevel tool. And you can see that's just beveled and added an edge to these objects. But I'm actually going to play with this, and I actually have to go into the channel box to do this manually because of the way I have, if I move the fraction here, it doesn't do anything. That's because it's actually going off offset instead. So I can kind of create this shape where I want to give it some chamfering, but then I also want to make sure it's correctly aligned, and then I think we also want to have more segments, so we just get it a bit smoother. So I've just put, this is like 12 segments, that's probably overkill. But just to create a sort of like interesting shape in the box. And then maybe one way we could continue with this is that we actually do a line through here. Again, I want to create a bevel, but this time it's just to separate these 2 sections. So I want this to be a bit wider. Let's get the offset like this, and then we just go and do a standard offset of an extrusion there to get a little bit of a waist to this thing. Like I'm not quite happy with how that came out, so what I might do is sometimes I'm just adding an edge loop. If I get us into wireframe mode here, I just want to select the lower section here, and this is too wide. There's a lot of different approaches you can take. Albin has created some really cool scripts too that do some of this work a lot quicker for us, but right now I'm just moving my pivot points and realigning this so that it's not so much of a sort of like a gap. And then I don't need this edge loop anymore, so I'm just going to select it and control delete it, which will remove the vertex points as well. Let's see, anything, let's see, hard space is much more chill and turn my brain off. Interesting, I don't really think astronauts is any less. I think it's got like a steep learning curve, But now it's like super easy because I know exactly what to do to make a lot of money.
That's reassuring.
What is that you can get that effect?
Oh, jävlar. No, that you know exactly how to get a lot of money.
Only in a game,
Yeah.
dude. Sadly, not enough people buy spaceships yet. Got to see the glass half full situation. I'm gonna steal the semiotics from this thing. Let's see. And we'll grab that. Take out these. So this is the wrong Cobb style semiotics. This means radioactivity. Don't think fusion is meant to be that radioactive, though, is it? It's the whole idea is that you're using like fusing elements that aren't giving off a bunch of radioactivity. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of my impression of why it's supposed to be clean. That it's not using like highly radioactive materials. When it works. I mean, it's working. We've at least got to a point where there are some companies that supposedly have managed to get more power out than they put in. Rings of Saturn is immensely satisfying. I don't know that game, T for UK. Or Tyfolk, I don't know. I think it's the old Final Fantasy in me that's saying Tifa. Rings of Saturn. All right, I might have to try that one out. Like the weekend's coming up. Doesn't the sun give off radiation? Yeah, it does. So fusion can emit neutron, gamma, and high energy beta radiation. Depends on what fuel is used. That's what I mean. You could use a fuel that doesn't give off as much radioactivity. So yeah, and I mean everything does in certain amounts, right? Like radiation is all around us. Like getting a suntan is being exposed to radiation. But yeah, obviously the sun has got a lot more going on in it, and the temperatures for fusion are much, much, much higher than a like. What is it? Millions of degrees or something like that. Yes, the sun is a fusion reaction, but from what I understand, you can fuse all kinds of materials if you know how. And I'm assuming that they're going to have some kind of exotic matter. So what I'm thinking is we have some pipes coming off this thing. It's going to look like some kind of unit. We'll probably do some additional... let's see. Let's create a bit more... of a frame. So I'm just using this to divide up sections where I want to put the frames, and we might even do another I want to say intrusion, kind of thinking like the way like a plastic water tank works. So let's just try a smaller one and see how it looks. We might have to do some adjustments, but let's just go minus 0.2 this time, so it's a little bit less. And I think it would keep that shape. What we might do is just grab this edge and even it out. So if we move the pivot point, whoops. I love moving pivot points instead of individual vertexes because we can scale your selection, and this gives fast results. So I don't know. I'm not entirely sold on this being the best option. Yeah, it looks cleaner, I think. I do like, you know, that this is creating a bit more of an interesting shape, but I think we need a balance of uniformity and asymmetry. It's all going to be fairly uniform, I think. Let's see, D, select there, and we'll scale on that. So I'll modify this section where there's going to be a band around it, but these other ones I think we'll leave. And then I would build a secondary frame where it can all kind of sit. So I'm thinking we want these semiotics to be displayed. One of them can maybe be, let's separate these first and foremost. So let's go there. Now they're separate objects. So let's, I guess this is like pellet storage. There we go. There's a good section on Winchell Chung's Atomic Rocket site about the different types of fusion. Nice. I feel like I might have read that a long time ago. And Tamsin adds, and fortunate that we have a magnetosphere to deflect most of it away from us. Indeed, yes. It would suck to be Martian. Let's see. This is just not cooperating. I don't want to really, like if I switch to wireframe when all of this is in shot, it just looks crazy. Like, here we go. So it's really kind of hard to interpret the shapes. And especially for you guys, I think. Like, I think in 3D and I can sort of visualize on top of the program itself. Obviously, I'm quite used to looking at it. But yeah, just this, I'm thinking there's some kind of connectors between here and then there'll be some tubes feeding into these. Maybe some power couplings or that sort of thing. I'm not entirely sure. And this isn't going to be finished in the next, few minutes. I don't want to run over too much either. Let's get our grid snap back on, just to sort of position this. Might be good to make sure this is in the middle. Actually, let's do something similar here where we're maybe doing some indentation. But I want to snap this to there because that's where I want the symbol to be. We might have some control panels here, like a rough connector. I think having this as a two-piece version could be good. We might be able to do a variant where it is a two, having it as a two-square piece is what I'm aiming for in the beginning. Second idea is to have like variations where you could do one tile at a time, just to create a bit of variety. Maybe this thing, for example, could extend further if you want like more pellet storage or something like that. Also the ozone layer blocks a bunch of UV radiation. Yes, it does. I can tell you when the ozone hole was much more of a thing, it was right over Australia when I was growing up, and I can tell you there was a vast difference between how fast you would burn in Australia versus in Sweden. When I came here, in fact, people laughed at me because I said, "Oh, we're going to the beach. Where's my sunscreen at?" And they're just like, "Sunscreen?" And then they produced what was it, SPF 9 or 10, something. Maybe it was like 5 or 6, and I'm just like, what? I didn't know you could get less than 15, and we usually run with 30. Of course, the ozone hole, funnily enough, was over Australia in the 80s and 90s. And yeah, much harsher sun, I would say. It's quite mild in Sweden, and part of that is the temperature, of course. It was definitely a thing. Like, you could be out in the sun for an hour and then maybe start to burn if you were laying out. Whereas you could just literally be walking around doing your errands in Australia without a hat on, and your ears will burn, your nose will burn. It's why they call it a sunburned country in a way. Part of it's the fact that it's quite dry, and like we don't really have the beautiful greens of Europe. It's more like olive colors. It's not entirely true, but there's a different kind of green, I would say. So yeah, here we have seasons, which is nice when you're not used to them. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not that much. So let's see. Yeah, I think we'll split this up some more. And we'll go like so. And really, I'm just looking for a bit of geometry that I can manipulate here. We might have some additional shapes. And why don't we just work on the strap version of this thing? So sometimes I just like to duplicate geometry and we'll just grab what we want. So actually it's going to be easy to do it this way, this way, this way, this way, and this way. Really like how the chat has been going the last couple of months with the streams. Like, I think we've doubled our viewership, which is, I know it's not a lot of people. I'm not really worried about that either. It's just nice to hang out and get fresh views and opinions on things from different people. You know, I can, for example, say, I think fusion is like this, and then I can get corrected on the spot, which is wonderful. From people that probably know more about it than me. So I'm just going to create an interesting base here. So we don't need... Actually, let's not do that. What we'll do is we'll come out here to there so that it snaps into place. And what I might do then is just delete... How are we going to do this? I think we'll do it in two separate bands, and it will create some intersecting geometry. But we can fix that later. So I'm just looking to get started on this right now, and I think we'll finish up in another 5 minutes or so. Just because I can't stream forever. My throat won't let me, like I get dry mouth. Let's see. Promise it's not from anything else. Nothing untoward. Let's see, I'm gonna go there. So, in the beginning, that is to say years and years ago, when we were doing modeling, it was very important to make everything manifold within Maya, and that created many headaches. But now we tend to make components that are combined together that we can then net fab together. This works out well because then we can take apart bits and pieces. I mean, that's the whole point of having like this sort of catalog, that we can borrow parts when we want to make a new variation. Or like, for example, say you need switches in a panel, you've got something to go off to begin with, or even a reference so you can do something new. Just to sort of like make sure you're not treading too much on old territory. Alright, so that seems to be fixed. And then I think what we'll do is just grab these two. And I'm pretty sure we went 0.3 there, so let's try and do a 0.1. A 0.1 and then a 0.1, and there's a reason for that. 0.1, and then we're going to go in as well, like so. So we're creating a little bit of a band here. See? This thing should be quite similar. It looks like it's only 0.1 around, so if we just go like so and go 0.1 and 0.1, you see that fits underneath. And then if I choose these remaining sections and just go up 0.1 and let's see, these. So I could do these as separate straps. It might actually have been a better way to do things, but we're here now. And there. Let's try going 0.1 and then 0.1 and in 0.1. So 0.1, and then we do a second extrusion in 0.1. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these edges here and here. We're just going to move them over, and that should be aligned here. So it kind of looks like there's layers of strapping going on. Let's see, we grab that one, and that one, that one. You just move our pivot points over, snap it there, and then we do a similar thing on this side. Looks like we missed one or two, but not too hard to fix. When you're just fixing an individual edge, there's nothing to move if it's in the same orientation, so you don't need to worry about pivot points. So there, if we looked at this, you can now see it feels like there's like these bands around it, right? So all of a sudden we've taken a fairly simple object and just made it feel a little bit more complex. So I'll continue to manipulate these, add additional details, a bit of asymmetry to break it up, and hopefully at some point next week you'll be able to see what the results are like, and you'll know where we started from. I could easily sit here another 2 or 3 hours working on this to get some base machinery. Sometimes it takes, 5 or 6 hours. There's a lot of work that goes into these ships, months and months of work. The larger the ship is, usually the more time it takes. But as we get more and more products out, it does make the job both harder and simpler in a sense. I would have thought it was simpler to go over and revise the Sleipnir, but then it spent a month converting it to GridForge and basically redoing everything. Is it worth it? I think so. It was a great base for the Nidhogg, Ratatosk, and Valkyria. And we're just going to have some awesome designs by the time this campaign is finished. Alright guys, thanks so much for joining me. Let's reconvene again in a week with the next one, and have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Bye for now. Bye!